We are back here on the show, and coming up at UFC 208 on Saturday night, it's the return of Anderson Silva. We last saw him at UFC 200, fighting at 205 pounds, a fight that I give zero relevance to. Took it on short notice, very short after his gallbladder surgery, was going up in weight, facing the light heavyweight champion. I don't think his head or heart was in that fight. I think the best fight you can look back to is the Michael Bisping fight from a year ago.
I totally get that, but just think about all those things that were against Anderson Silva, and he decides to take a fight against Daniel Cormier. How many friggin' people on planet Earth would do that? I would expect the answer
You get a Brinks truck,
yeah,
you park it in front of John Ramdine's house, he'll fight Daniel Cormier.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's not
I know
a good
it's going to happen to me. I watched what he did to Barnett and Dan Henderson. He dropped me right on my head. But Anderson Silva, that's why everybody respects Anderson Silva, because he's out there to solve riddles. He's a martial artist. Even if the fight is on short notice, he wants to go there and be free to perform. Why is the guy still fighting? He doesn't need to be fighting. He's one of the all-time greats. He's going to go down as a legend of not only the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but of mixed martial arts in general. He's pioneered the sport in Brazil. They love him there. He's made lots and lots of money. His influence is all over the sport. He does it because he loves fighting. This is what he does. He was born inside of the ring and inside of the cage, and that appears to be where he feels most alive.
Yeah, I wasted a lot of years being an Anderson Silva denier. I don't know why, because now that he's almost left his best years, you have to go back and watch those, and I go back and watch them. They were magical at the time, what the man did, but there's always been this little frustrating element to him. One of his great heroes in fighting is the great Roy Jones, and Roy Jones's career, much like Anderson Silva, at the end, bunch of losses, not bad performance, did okay, did really well for a 40-year-old, or not bad considering it was the light heavyweight champion on a few days' notice, but you do go out not the way you came in. And I hate hearing Anderson Silva talk about, I'm just going to go out there and have fun. Part of the issue of the last few years has been having too much fun and not doing enough going in and solving the problem.
What's the balance?
Yeah, well, I think he lost that balance in the Chris Weidman fight. When you are using the flim-flam and you're playing with people, that game works, and when it doesn't work, and it didn't work against Chris, his answer was more flim-flam. Do it more. Go further. Once it stops working, it stops working. And then you've slowed down a little bit as well. I would have loved to, as now a true appreciator of the greatness of Anderson Silva, I'd love to hear him say, I'm just going to go out there and show you what it is to be the greatest. Jabs and low kicks and right hands and step-offs and left.
But is he still that?
Yes, I think he can still do that. I think he can go out there without giving yourself the built-in excuse of, I was just playing, or it was Daniel Cormier, nobody expected me to win. Go out there and say, I'm the fucking best in the world. I can beat any of these guys. And he holds that back a little bit. And you understand that. He's 41 years old. He's taken a lot of abuse. That one round, the one outstanding round with Michael Bisping, showed you what he's still capable of. And I would love to see, I'd love to wake up on Sunday excited for a 41-year-old to have the best performance of his life.
You would think that even in Anderson Silva at 41, where the speed might not be where it was 6 years ago, the reflexes are a bit less, but even that said, I think that this is an Anderson Silva that can certainly beat Derek Brunson, and if not, I think to Robin's point, I don't know how much of a market there is out there where you're watching an Anderson Silva that can't beat the Derek Brunsons. Derek Brunson is a great fighter, and he could certainly win this fight, but Anderson Silva, it's how much is the end of this career. This is why this is a very important fight on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm baffled by these types of fights. Like, Anderson Silva should be able to do whatever he wants, but I think Anderson Silva should be reserved for a certain pool of opponents. For example, I'm just going to use one fighter. Does it make sense that Vitor Belfort's fighting Kelvin Gastelum? We just saw what Kelvin Gastelum did to Tim Kennedy. He seems to be that new age. Wouldn't people rather see a rematch between Anderson Silva and Vitor Belfort, or some of these aging type of fighters?
Yeah.
Let them, finish their career facing some of the guys that help build the sport as well, instead of facing some of these other guys. However, a lot of people out there feel that this is a tailor-made fight for Anderson Silva, that Derek Brunson's going to be charging forward. People say he's going to have his chin out there, and Anderson Silva's going to tag him. Well, I would expect that Derek Brunson and his teammate understands that that's up to
It's not the best comparison, but we saw it with Bellator. They promoted Tito Ortiz against Liam McGeary, going for the title, and not to say no one watched that fight, but it paled in comparison to Tito Ortiz fighting the likes of Chael Sonnen or a Stephan Bonner. These, stars and guys that we realize they are not in the championship picture, but they kind of have their own division there. And with the UFC, you get BJ Penn against Yair Rodriguez, where you leave. If you're a BJ Penn fan, you leave pretty depressed.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, I did too. And I'll raise you a step here. And I know this is hard, and people don't want to accept this sometimes. But when you go back and you take some great basketball player from 15 years ago, and put him today against a mid-level guy now, the mid-level guy is often better. The best BJ ever would have a hard time with a young Yair Rodriguez. And the real Anderson Silva, the best Anderson Silva ever, has a hard time with the Derek Brunsons of the world. I know you don't want to believe that, but when you look at how the game raises, I mean, every single guy at 155 pounds would beat Royce Gracie from UFC 1.
But
I mean, that's just the truth.
Sure, but the argument would be, think about back then, Anderson Silva and BJ Penn, they got into this game when there was no money to be made. They were fighters and martial artists. Take a 17, 18-year-old BJ Penn and put him into today's technology.
No doubt. Anderson Silva, trained in the context of today, is the greatest ever. But Anderson Silva teleported from 2001 to here, has a hard time with these fighters because the game changes so dramatically. I know we watch it, it's still a punch, it's still a kick, but the way that people play with the relationship between the bodies is so unbelievably different. And if you see Derek Brunson in there have his way with Anderson Silva, I'm not saying that you will, but if you do, it is not because Anderson Silva is tired and old, it's because the game is so advanced. Derek Brunson is a brilliant fighter. Derek Brunson is better than every single fighter in 2011. And so I hope Anderson Silva comes out and has a brilliant performance, and we're all inspired, and we see something brilliant from this man at 41 years old. I really hope we see that, but the game is very different today.
Last thing just on Anderson Silva prolonging his career. Do you feel Michael Bisping winning this championship has had an impact on guys like Anderson Silva, where if this title had stayed with Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, you know, your Anderson Silvas, Dan Hendersons. I mean, Dan Henderson extended his career by getting a title fight with Michael Bisping. You have to imagine with Anderson Silva, his coach in the Countdown show is talking about going for the middleweight title. It seems that Michael Bisping has given Anderson Silva this realization that, hey, I believe I beat that guy a year ago, and this is something attainable. Whereas with Luke Rockhold and Chris Weidman, you figured that Anderson Silva, especially with Weidman, he was resigned and stating, I'm not fighting for titles anymore.
Yeah, what's interesting is I think everybody in the game of mixed martial arts that consumes it, the media, when we look at who are the best fighters at 185 pounds, we have Jacare at the top, we have Yoel Romero at the top, we have Chris Weidman, the former champion, we have Luke Rockhold at the top. We think those guys are the top four guys, top four best fighters. Michael Bisping's the champion. A lot of people, once they heard that Yoel Romero was supposed to fight Michael Bisping, was like, oh, Michael Bisping's dead. Gegard Mousasi, who, again, is one of the dark horses, so to speak, he's like, Michael Bisping can totally beat Yoel Romero. If you guys don't understand that, you just don't understand fighting. So I think most of us, because of the fights Bisping's been in, the damage that he's taken, he's just written off. But the fact is that Michael Bisping can compete with all those guys.
He's beat Anderson Silva. He'll beat everyone.
I know.
And every time he'll beat them, nobody will believe he's the best.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What was that Eminem song? Motherfuckers act like they forgot about Michael Bisping? Is that what it is?
That was it.
That was it. They just don't get it. Like, I don't know why people refuse to get it. Michael Bisping's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, and people just won't accept it. Gegard, at least, a high-level mind, an elite fighter like Gegard at least, accepts it. But it's weird. It is strange.
That is going to wrap it up for us. Anderson Silva, he's taking on Derek Brunson this Saturday night at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York.